All right. Well, today we want to go over kind of like a different perspective. We're not talking about what we're doing on the daily basis. It's more, like I said, the mindset, what we have in how we think, what we do every day. We've talked about this a lot. I'm really big on it. I think it starts with this. If you can't get your head in the game the right way, then, probably should get out of the game. Right. But that goes for anything. So we're going to focus on that. We're just going to go over some stuff just to the idea is to get us all kind of thinking a little differently, right? To get us to maybe understand our clients and not be so programmed as far as what we think we can do. Because we know some people can sell ice to an Eskimo and not know what the heck they're talking about, but they're great at conversing, and others not so well. But I know that, asking better questions and talking to people and controlling the call wins over skill level anytime, 100%. I know people that sound horrible that I cringe when I hear them, but they're so consistent and they're top producers, right? And on the same side, I see people with great skill, great talent, and it hurts my heart because I know that they're not applying it with the consistency that they need to be successful, right? It's like seeing somebody in a dive bar that has the best voice ever, but they just can't get onto the big stage, right? It's like, come on now, don't waste your skills. Just want to go over standards, resetting expectations. Again, like I said, whoever asks the best questions controls the calls. So with today, we're going to go over, a little bit about that, some bullet points about that, why it matters, all that good stuff as well. And then hopefully everybody can take it and try to apply it differently, tweak it a little bit differently, right? Take what you've done for 1 year, 1 month, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and change it. Because remember, unless you have 150 loans over the last 12 months on your record, we can all get better, right? We can all do better. So, and that's our job. We always want to continue getting better. So let's jump into it. Let me put my phone on silence, by the way, guys. You guys got a phone ringing and blowing up over there. Drop it on silent too, because I know it's distracting for me over here. So again, we're in a skill business, right? So constantly improving, stay humble, all that stuff. Like I said, doesn't matter if you've been in it for 1 day or 20 years, we're always going to be getting better. The minute you think you know everything is the minute you start failing, right? We can say that about anything, just life in general. We're doing this to help sharpen our execution, not just temporarily motivate us, right? So that's why I say I want us all to apply it, myself included, because every time we have a talk, it makes me better. I learn from you. I learn from other people. I learn from other people in the industry. I learn what not to do. I learn what to do sometimes, right? Like I said, why it matters, asking the better questions. The number one thing is obviously you're going to reduce objections, right? When you control the conversation, you're going to reduce the objections. We've hinted on it a little bit throughout the week too, as far as getting in front of people, getting them to gasp, getting them to be curious. And that we sell the same way. We sell with childhood curiosity a lot of times, right? We ask questions. We play stupid. We don't assume we know everything. And we all know what the assume means, right? So we don't need to go there, but just never assume you know anything. We are a mentor, a coach, a advisor, or whatever to every client that calls in. It's our job to guide them in the right way, to ask the right questions and not just give them something that doesn't fit what they want, or they're uncertain about it, have no clarity on it or anything like that. So control comes from guidance, not pressure, guys. Pressure sales might have worked in the 80s and 90s. Doesn't tend to work these days. People are smart. People have Google. People can find their own answers half the time. I learn from clients on what you can do and what you can do sometimes, whether it's legit or not. It's out there. Just like the news now, I'm hearing from people because it's been on the news the last couple of weeks is like, oh, rates probably aren't going to go down much over the next year or two. And now customers are saying, I heard they're not going to go down versus a year ago. And it's like, I'm waiting for them to come down. So that's because they're getting, or they're feeling maybe subconsciously, maybe that, oh, it's not going to get better. Maybe I do need to do something. Right. So a lot of what we do, in fact, I know Alex is going to have a book rotation going around and all this stuff. And we're going to start rotating books and stuff to help everybody. Hopefully everybody wants to keep learning. Hopefully everybody wants to keep educating themselves, because what we do is way more on the back end, is way more deeper than the questions that we ask up front. Same with anything. I mean, a lot of times I do emails and I don't even want to get them to, I don't want an answer. I want a response. Same with our marketing, right? Same thing when you text somebody, you don't want them to say, yeah, I want to do a deal. You want them to say, who is this? Or what is it? Or what are you talking about? Those create curiosity. Those create open doors for you to actually get in and provide that clarity, provide what you're actually doing, right? So remember, certainty beats persuasion 99% of the time. If you're explaining before you actually understand what their problem is, then you're pretty much guessing. So really quick, let's go into like, I don't know, scenarios. Maybe if we can all like partake in this a little bit as well. Scenarios to use. Who wants to jump in with like, some questions that they get, like, oh, the rates are too high, or I need to think about it, or I'm just looking, or are you my servicer? Who's got like a one-liner rebuttal that they would give for that, or a response for that? Everybody, wait, hold on, one at a time, guys. Calm down.
I'll go.
Okay, cool.
When it comes to just someone just saying like, oh, are you blah, 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 as like a servicer wise, you just say like, no, or we like lend, sorry, my brain's not working, but I just say we're a part of, like, we can lend to them, we're a part of them kind of thing. And then I just kind of move forward. I don't really like validate anything else. I just kind of keep going. And
how'd that work for you?
It works every time. I don't know. No one
every time.
Yeah, no one like says anything. Once you just kind of keep going with confidence, people don't really like question you. So
nice. Yeah, and a lot of times, on your Jabber, you're gonna see some data who the original servicer was, right? But oftentimes it was like a broker, right? And then obviously they completed the loan and then it got transferred over. So oftentimes, if they say, hey, is this Rocket? No, this isn't Rocket, but we do work with Rocket and many other lenders, right? And just keep on moving through.
Mm-hmm.
Right, what do you say?
I'm gonna just ask him a question.
Yeah,
so your skill is to address it
with lenders.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, Frank, really quick on Miranda. So your way is that you address it quickly and then move past it, right? And on to another question, another topic.
Question or confirmation on their steward things, just asking them questions to confirm they are who they say they are kind of thing. And then you kind of just keep going.
Awesome. What were you going to say, Frank?
I was just going to say my line is basically we're partnered with lenders across the nation, so, and if I have like Rocket or whatever, I would say, yeah, we're partnered with them, but we're also a direct lender. My job is just to find you the best deal possible, the best mortgage possible for you. And then usually that gets them quiet. They're like, okay, let's find out what I can get.
What's your guesstimate? Does that recreate more questions, or what's your guesstimate on the percentage of times that you say that and then move on and they're just whatever?
I mean, it pretty much, like Miranda said, if you say it with confidence, if you just say, hey, we're partnered with lenders across the nation, my job's just to find you the best mortgage terms possible. They're usually all for that because, and they don't rebut it at all, really, because they don't even know who their servicer, they know who's on their bill. They don't, to them, it's a mortgage is a mortgage.
Right.
Say it with confidence, they'll usually move forward.
And that's the key right there. You got to say it with confidence and control the conversation. Exactly what we're talking about. When will it not work is when you start talking and fumbling over your words, trying to explain everything because you're not confident. I see a lot of people get hung up on the wrong thing sometimes, right? We want to address, move on. That goes with any question. Anybody else have another way they handle something? Whether another one of those questions, maybe like rates are too high. Who are you?
Yeah, when you're dealing with the mailer, right? If they have an objection, like, oh, you're not Rocket. And then you go point blank. So what in particular was Rocket providing that, sets them apart from the rest, and just hold it, right? Because there are situations where they don't like their servicer. So I think it's very important to kind of be prepared for any type of objections that's going to be rolling out to you. But, another one that you guys are going to see is, what's your rate, right? Automatically, you guys should put your doctor's hats on as like, hey, I definitely want to give you, an accurate diagnosis of what type of offer I can provide you, but I have some questions I need to ask. Think about it as you are the doctor. I think a lot of us have that mindset, but we really got to roll into that every single time you're the mortgage doctor, right? I can't give you a prescription unless I diagnose your situation. Just if I went to go see, Mr. Dr. Smith, we can't go, hey, I got, pain in my neck. I want you to give me this. It just doesn't work that way. Right. Yeah. So
really, one word I would take away with all that stuff is just the confidence side, right? Just own it. You don't need to get too much in the weeds, but just own it. You could talk to people. If you could read people, get a feel for it. If there's a concern, you drill in a little harder and then you go over that again. By the way, you might hit that same topic 3, 4, 5 times. Do the same thing over. Don't get hung up on it. They say, wait, you're not optimal unless you're like the AI yesterday who's just saying like, yeah, call your lender. By the way, that was fixed. Whoever called that one out, that should hopefully be fixed. But that's also why we are people. And was that you, Chris? Yeah. So that should be a corrected note by now, but that's why we're special, right? That's what makes us better. That's why we're professionals. That's why we want to overcome these things and get them out there, right? Any of these things, by the way, it doesn't matter what the question is, which is kind of the caveat to that little drill, but it doesn't matter what it is. Address it, be clear, move on. If you just do that and you do that with a speed then you will not have those objections will be the least of your concerns. You know, like top performers, like I told you before, they're not always the best skilled people, but they have certain charismas about them, right? I've said it before, consistency beats all. We talk about it here. I will outwork you any day. That's how I feel. That's what I believe. I don't sound great. I don't have a great voice. I say the wrong things all the time. I slur my words. I'm drunk. Oh, just joking. I'm not drunk. But all that kind of stuff, right, is not a good skill. You won't see me speaking like Tony Robbins or anything like that, right, on stage, but I will outwork anybody and I'll stay consistent with what I want. And we all have our own little ways of doing business, right? We've seen people where they have that sandbag mentality where you won't hear from them for 2 weeks and then all of a sudden they drop in a bunch of deals, right? Other people that kind of like to keep, like me, I kind of treat my clients and my leads almost like a savings account, right? I always got a few people on the fence, but I might not want them right now. I'm not going to be pushing hard because I'm not here to be persuasive in the sense of making them do something when they're uncomfortable. I have a feeling that time, I'll outlast you, I'll outwork you, and eventually you're going to be with me. One way or the other, it's going to come around. And if you don't, I don't even let it bother me because it's out of sight, out of mind. All I can do is take away from it what I didn't do right or what I didn't do correctly. So top performers are going to really ask questions before they do any kind of pitching first off. That's common, right? We've gone through that. We've all heard probably calls from people in the CRM where they were pitching in minute 1 and 2, and there was no rapport. There's no question. There's no even knowing what their problem was. They're just selling a product. Might as well be knocking on the door selling vacuums if you're going to do that. You need to get clarity. You need to get all the questions out of the way. You need to ask better questions. You need to stay calm under hesitation. You don't get irate with people. And the cool thing about what we see in our CRM is that when you get a lead reassigned to you, you can listen to other people. You can listen to yourself and you can critique what you can do better or what somebody could have done better or what they did good. I love that part of it because I can go back. You know, we use it for training purposes, but we also are all training ourselves. We're making ourselves better, right? Constantly. So staying calm under hesitation, controlling the pace and the tone of the conversation. If you have to calm somebody back down, or you need to kick their energy, kick their butt into gear so they're actually paying attention, which if you ever try to sell somebody while driving, which we know we don't want to do, you sometimes got to say, hey, I'll wait for you. Pull over. You're getting your driveway in 2 minutes? No worries. Do that. Let me work on something else really quick. Control the pace. Don't try to throw up on them and shovel everything down their throat or in their ear when they're not really ready. They're not paying attention. That's called leading the conversation. And that's what our job is, right? They're here. We're teaching them. We're trying to get all the information out, just like the doctor analogy, just like the professional analogy, right? And then when you're making sure you're getting back to them or when you are saying anything to them, whether it's a follow-up because they've ghosted you, whether it's a second call pitch, whether it's you're on hold while they're driving, you just have to make sure that whatever you're saying has purpose behind it. You know, follow up with purpose. Another thing we say a lot of times is if you're not in it and you don't believe in it, go back to that confidence, or you don't believe in what you're pitching or talking about, then you're not going to be successful with it. So you always have to have purpose behind what you do, whether that is an amazing deal and you're trying to persuade them to make them understand how you've structured it. Because by the way, everything comes on our shoulders, right? When something doesn't happen or something falls through or somebody doesn't understand or they ghost us, it's all a reflection of how we handled it up front. Even if we never talked to the person, even if we just sent like 5 text messages to the person and a couple of voicemails, we obviously didn't get the message across or the urgency across or have a purpose behind it. Therefore, you should take ownership of that, right? Those are things to say like, how do I get better? I spend a lot of time trying to figure out the hooks. Like, how do I hook somebody subconsciously, like I said earlier, just to give me a response? We don't need to do a deal right now. Just respond. Call me a cuss word. I don't care. At least I get a response. Follow up with purpose every time, guys. That one is huge. What you got, DJ?
I was just going to say, in the past, and I think it works pretty good for me, when a customer is talking like extremely fast, I try to keep up with their pace and talk extremely fast. If they're kind of older and they talk slower, then I slow things down. I try to keep it on whatever level they're at. And that helps a lot with the confidence and they just believe in you. Because if somebody's talking real fast, let's say they're from like New York, New Jersey, and you're trying to do everything slowly, they might not be able to pay attention to what you're saying. I think that's a huge help.
It is like mirroring your client basically, right? Just mirror your client with how they are. We've talked about that a lot too. And that goes with the tone and pace of it too. You could also sometimes mirror them, and then part of controlling it is kind of taking ownership of it, right? So sometimes I'll mirror a client and then I'll slow them down or I'll speed them up. Like if I'm talking to an 80-year-old veteran and he'll be, going back to the mirror option, right? we all do this, right? You talk to somebody back east and you have an accent. You talk to somebody on Jersey, you have that accent. You talk to the West Coast, you're like, bro, what's up, man? You know, all that kind of stuff, right? But you could, if you mirror that client, you know, like the old veteran, they're like a no, you know, I don't want any fibbing or whatever. They're just straight to the point kind of people, right? I don't want to shoot the shit the straight way here. They want to just get to it. And I will mirror those people and then we'll say the same thing. Chris, I heard you do this yesterday, by the way, too, which is great, which is you entrust in them what you're doing. Hey, I'm not here to pull your chain here. I don't got time to waste for you. I know you don't got the time either. Let's get straight to the point, right? Blah, 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 blah. You get those people versus grandma who's like, she wants to tell you about all her 80 grandkids, right? For example, different story, different approach. But you can also get that guy and kind of put him in their place is how I think of it, right? Like sometimes I'll mirror those people to relate to them, but then I got to put them in their place and at some point take ownership of it because I got to make a pitch and I got to find out what's wrong with them and I got to ask these questions and I got to get more clarity as far as what I can actually do for them or what I can't do for them. There's nothing wrong with people you can't do anything for right now. Like I said, those people will need something at some point. So we don't want to live in the now. We want to live in the big picture. Short-term gratification is great. Long-term reward is even better, right? So yeah, I don't want to try to car salespeople, you know, try to get them in the door only for them to hate us. We want good reviews, which is great, by the way, like 3 5-star reviews so far this week, I think. So awesome guys on that, but you want those reviews. You want them to have an impact. You want to be remembered, just like Alex said yesterday, he got his mortgage statement. It's got somebody else on the mortgage statement, not me, because it was sold to somebody. But hopefully you remember me more, Alex. We won't remember that other person because we didn't connect with them. We had nothing to relate with that person. So again, perfect. Love it, DJ. Mirror those clients, stay on pace with them, but don't be afraid to kind of control back. And if you don't have that control, you'll know because you'll kind of lose that client a little bit, by the way. Jump back into it, right? Jump back into that relatability factor. Average people, we just kind of talked about that, but average salespeople or people in general, we kind of react, right? We're very reactive. That's probably one of the worst things I can think about in our business is to be a reactive person. We guide decisions. We know about what's going to happen. We probably know, if you're good, you probably think about it a lot. You probably know the outcome of what your next call is going to be before it even happens, because you probably know what that person is or what their situation is. If you can paint that image and you know what's going to happen on your next call or what the outcome is or what's mostly going to happen, whether you want to believe it or not, it's going to be a lot easier to have that confidence on it. I know when there's a deal that I just can't beat or I can't do, and I'm going to have a little bit different conversation. And I might play the neg game or the takeaway or the trust in myself game, right? Or it might be better, but I can give you better service game, right? These are all things that I can know how to approach when it happens. The same reason with why we're trying to dump even more information into the lead when it comes through for you. So you know all this stuff ahead of time. Get a pretty good picture, right? When did they get their loan last? Oh, was it 1 year ago or 5 years ago? I get a pretty good idea what they might have. I looked at their equity. I got a pretty good idea of that. I might see a husband and wife on there. So I know there's probably 2 people involved, or isn't there? Something I should probably ask and get clarity. Maybe there was a divorce since then, maybe not. Who knows what's going on, right? You can always get a really good image of what you're going to be doing and probably know the outcome most of the time if you just do a little better question asking and a little research every time, right? But again, discipline beats talent every time. We're all talented. We all have our special skills. You know, some of us can have that talk with 1 out of 3 people. Some of us can have that talk, a good talk with, or do better with more reps than we do talk to a bunch of people. For me, I'm more that side. I got to talk to more people. I know I'm going to push stuff through and it's not going to work out. We should all know that. That's why we push so much through. I know I probably have a lower conversion than most people, but I'll put more in and therefore my outcome will be higher. That's why I got all those fun trophies from back in the day when I felt like I was cool, you know, get a trophy and they make you feel special for a day. But that's how it is, right? So nobody is, and going back to wasted talent, I hate this because it hurts saying it, but I've seen some people that are really good. They close 100% of their deals. The problem is they only submit 2 deals. So that is not good. That doesn't work, right? Nobody wants to be 100% of 1, right? So I'd rather be 60% of 20. 50% of 40, right? Do the math. It makes a lot of sense and a lot better for everybody. All right, guys. So yeah, so going into that part here, let's see. Does this make sense, by the way? I mean, I think we all have a kind of a mindset, right? And know this stuff. Sometimes we just got to hear it or think about it differently and again, because we fade back. We sometimes fall into old habits or old ways of thinking, or something's going on in our life, right? The old rule of 3, right? There's always 3 bad things that happen. You got 2 things that happen and you're just like, oh, what's next? You know, I know there's going to be another one. Throw that crap out. You're going to control it and you're going to keep moving forward with it. So we'll end up here after this. We'll go through like kind of like one commitment. I know we kind of put that out there on Monday as well, but one commitment that each of us wants to make for the remainder of the week. Are we going to do it? And then we'll come back on Friday and say, did we do it? And that's going to be a reality check for each one of us to see if we're honest with ourselves, right? If we did it. Because I know we can convince ourselves of anything, whether it's right or wrong. So let's go back to like live calls. Who wants to jump in, kind of walk through appointment they have, for example? Like, how do you call that person back? Let's go perfect scenario, right? They actually make an appointment. They actually answer when you call them on their appointment, right? Who feels confident on how they start the conversation?
Hi, Mr. Smith. This is Alex at Direct My Loan. I'm calling in regards to our appointment that we have scheduled today. You have something to write with? Great. My number is XYZ, blah, blah, blah. So based on the information that we have, it appears that we may be able to improve the terms of your loan. Specifically, if you were to refinance, what would your main goals be? And say nothing. Oh, I just want a lower payment. Great. Other than a lower payment, have you seen any changes in your, income or cash flow? I know the cost of living has, increased quite a bit for many Americans across the country. Is there any debt that you need to consolidate or any cash out that you need for reserves? And we have many folks that are, planning on staying at their homes for the long term versus selling, obviously, because interest rates or for whatever situation they're in. Did you need any money for home improvement, right? Hey, I'm taking a look at your home here. It looks like your house was built, right? So right off the bat, you want to control the call, right? So you're basically diagnosing the situation. We all have scripting that we could look at, which is the fundamentals on how we have to talk to them. But the number one thing that will be a disadvantage for the consumer as well as us is not being prepared. Sometimes these homeowners have no idea what they want. All they know is at the end of, every single month, they have some sort of deficit where they're having to pull money from one spot and transition it into another. Many folks have no idea how much they're paying per month on their credit cards because it's all on auto pay. Another factor is people don't understand that, hey, I might make $1,000 a month, but I'm only taking $650 after that 1,000. So during this conversation, you guys want to definitely talk about what's happening in the world today. You're basically diagnosing the situation and you want to reaffirm what they're sharing with you with something that will captivate them. You got to make it relevant to them. To this day, listening to different calls, right? We're not even talking about their house. Their house, we got to all remember there's a lot of memories. There's a lot of things that have happened, right? It's the American dream. Oftentimes, right off the bat, we have to diagnose the situation. Ask just loaded questions, right? What prompted them? The number one thing that people are calling is because number one, they're stressed about time because they don't know how long they can handle, right? They're stressed about, cash flow, right? And the third thing, is something's going on with their life, right? Even when someone calls, oh, I'm not interested or whatever the case may be, there's a reason why they're pulling all this mill and they're calling us. So we got to get beneath the surface. So for example, right, when we have these customers talking about it, right, all the person wants, because it's almost like a shield. What's your rate? Oh, I want my payment lower. Okay, great. And our mindset needs to be, and this is crucial, what's a low interest rate do for you for not leveraging your equity position to make your life a little bit easier? You have so many folks that hold on to those, oh, I want this rate forever. And then the next thing you know, they're doing consumer credit counseling. They're filing bankruptcy. They're sitting around waiting so long that their credit's getting hit so hard that, now it's like, okay, you were qualified to do something before, but now your grade is lower. Therefore, it's going to cost you more. So we got to let them in a pretty direct manner. It's like, hey, this is credit preservation and more important, restoration for the future. Another thing that we got to hit on is their family. I mean, that hits hard. Hey, so it looks like I see you and John are on the title report, been in the home for this amount of time. Do you have any kids? Frankie, you're talking to somebody. Turns out, registered nurse, just got divorced, has 3 kids, 15, 12, and 10. I can't believe I remember this.
Yeah, something like it. 15, 11. Yeah, 15, 11, and 7 or 6.
Yeah, and then Frankie started kind of plugging, but very systematically, right? And this went from just like, just a normal conversation, but then this customer's fully interacting with Frank because Frank got beneath the surface. He's diagnosing the situation. Even if he doesn't have a deal today, there's going to be some sort of relationship for the future because that Frank's going to be your mortgage guy. My point is when we take on these calls, we got to make sure they're relevant and be prepared, right? If you're rushing to your appointment, Like, oh my gosh, my appointment's at 9:30 and you're literally calling it at 9:31 without even looking at it. That's a flag right there. That's mindset. You got to calibrate your mindset at all times.
Has anybody taken a call that was reassigned to them and said, oh, wow, this is a great deal. Why didn't the other person ask these questions? Like, raise your hand if you had a call that you or a reassign that you saw was an amazing option, but somebody else didn't ask the right questions. No, I'm the only one.
And one with Herb Avery, one that we sent disclosures out on, that was a reassign, ended up being, it started with like text messaging back or whatever. I don't know what the previous LO did. I don't think they ever actually interacted with him, even though he was ready to move, but it ended up being a deal. I mean, I think it's a good deal. He's being a little hesitant on signing the docs, but I'm going to try and get him back on board here because it is a good deal. We're saving him money. We're keeping his payment the same. I don't know. But either way, it was one that was there that somebody just kind of left hanging.
You see a lot of that where they ask the wrong questions, or even more than that, they don't even ask the questions. They're just concerned about trying. A lot of times you'll see this with people, like I said, take these as learning experiences. I don't know about this one, Frank, but if there was no interaction or not the right interaction, then somebody failed at getting them on or finding out those questions and doing what Alex just said, which is getting below the surface. Nothing is on the surface. I promise you. Any of these questions that people ask is because you haven't got to the root of the cause. And we talk about this a lot. And I'm going to find one of my books because there's a lot of them that talk about 3 or 5 or 7. Todd Duncan goes into this, which is he's more of like a self-gen servicing guy, but getting people almost like break down and cry because you get so deep into the surface as far as what the real problem is, that there's an emotional connection there, and they don't, you become that counselor almost for them, right? But nothing is on the surface. Do you find gold laying around? Is oil floating on the surface? We dig. We got to dig down. If you want anything good, you got to dig. You want diamonds? Go digging. So if you're not, you just want to collect a bunch of sand, fine, stay on the surface and answer surface questions. But if you want actually gold and diamonds, you got to start digging and you got to get below that. And Alex, you actually touched on most of the stuff that I was going to go over, because remember, this is not a call. We're not talking right now about pitching deals, right? We're not talking about following up with clients afterwards. Those are talks for other times. It all starts in the beginning. It all starts with how we feel, what our mindset is, and how we approach it in the beginning. So I would urge everybody to practice these, write these down and practice these things this week with, discovery and control. Questions like Alex just said, hey, walk me through what made you call today? Or, hey, what problems are you most focused on right now? What happens if nothing changes over 6 or 12 months? Oh, you said little Jimmy's, 17 years old. What happens when he turns 18? If you're not getting that child support or that whatever right now, what's going to happen? Paint that picture. And then that's discovery. That's control. You got to get them to think about the future, because people are just like us. We're all people. We're thinking about the now more than we are the future a lot of times, right? We think about the future, but probably don't prioritize it over what's happening right now. So discovery and control, asking better questions like that. Priority and motivation side of it, right? What's more important to you? Monthly payments, the cash, flexibility, what is it? Why is that even important to you? What would make it a win for you? What would make this work for you? Second one, why is it important to you, is really huge, by the way, guys, because if you don't know why it's important to them, again, then you're just selling a product. You're not providing a service. And we're in the service business. We are providing service to people. We're not selling products. The next thing to practice this week is objection handling. Again, without any kind of pressure. And this will go into even what DJ was saying, is how you tone it, right? And how you say it, right? So objection handling. Think of all the objections, write them down, and how would you address them? Hey, what specifically concerns you about XYZ? What are you concerned about with the cost or the rate of the payment? Oh, what is that compared to? What are we comparing that to? And that can help you kind of break it down and make sure you understand it. What would need to be true to make this make sense? Like, what would I need to share with you to make it make sense? And let's be realistic about it too, because I really am here to help you. Passionately, caring, real with my clients. Those are the 3 things, not to get into the weeds, just focus on those kind of 3 things, right? So again, discovery and control, priority and their motivation, and then objection handling, but handling them the right way. I don't want objection handling to sound like, compared to what? Or why don't you want to move forward? You don't like money? I've heard these, by the way. You might have heard them as well. Well, you all know it's how you say it, right? Like, compared to what, or compared to what? Different ways of saying it, right? comes across totally different. Practice these and get good because they help you in your life, by the way, too. You don't know how many times I've had somebody arguing with an underwriter, for example, and they just weren't asking the question the right way. They weren't handling it the right way. I could say the same thing to somebody and get a totally different answer that makes sense, right? And somebody else is more in combative mode. And you never want to be in combative mode. We're always in educating, teaching, curiosity mode, right?
I mean, the key, we have to be very diplomatic and assertive, right? All these deals that we are working on, if we could get this stuff kind of closer and actually feel the pain of that homeowner, that incubation timeline from talking to the person to originating the loan, you're going to shorten it. And point blank, right? Many of the folks that I've been listening to calls are saying, hey, I'm not interested, or hey, I want to wait. With everyone here, why do you think they want to wait?
Because they think rates are going to drop,
Right.
or they just don't trust you.
It's not
Exactly.
about, don't trust you. It's not important yet.
You just nailed it. So they probably feel that you did not relieve their pain, more or less. So the question is, what do you not like about the loan? I see that we're saving $240 a month, which based on, the information that you shared with me, for you to take $240, that's equivalent of you earning about $350 gross. I know many of my customers are calling today because they're seeing increases in their cost of living, utilities, and more importantly for 2026, their insurance policies. If you were to take a look at your, paycheck stub or whatever, most folks are seeing 30 to 40% in their healthcare cost. And that's something that a lot of people are calling in that you guys might not even be thinking about it. But then, a lot of times when you talk to the homeowner, especially those within a certain demographic, there's medical stuff behind the scenes. I know personally for myself, my insurance is crazy, which it is what it is. But then at the same token, I know I got to figure out things internally on my own to do it. And one way, if I was in that position, I would have to obviously look at my mortgage leverage to reduce my expenses so that I have more cash flow so I could attend to some of the most important things, which is my health and my family's health, right? DJ, you nailed it, right? Either number one, it's timing. Number two, you're not relieving their pain. Or number three, they don't trust you and there's another decision maker. We want to save them time, money, and stress. Those are the number three things, right? And unless they want to change, nothing's going to happen. And as they wait, their credit is just going to keep on dipping. The world of, you got a 740 or higher, you're going to get the best rate. Those days are gone. There's a lot of risk with people with great credit, right? Because they're just moving money around, right? Some people with the highest credit scores and all that stuff, they're barely holding on. It's just a number, right? You might have someone, a sport, an athlete that has great stats, right? But he has no control of the field, right? He's not a leader. I mean, he might be, doing everything, but he's just solo. He ain't going to win. Your homeowner is a team member. You got to think about that, make them relevant. But I think the number one objection right now that I keep on hearing is, I gotta, I'm on a wait. Oh, call me next week or whatever, right? Hey, you know what? I don't want to waste your time and I want to be prepared when I have that call with you in the future. What is causing you to want to talk about this next week? Is it the timing? What do you not like about the loan? What do you actually like about the loan? And number three, do you feel that you have better options out there? Just point blank, ask them.
The other thing I forgot to bring up, Alex, too, I lied. Not 3 things to practice this week. There's 4 things to practice this week. What do you guys write down for the first 3? Everybody write it down.
Discovery, control, priority, motivation, handling objections.
Right.
I wrote down a bunch of stuff.
There you go. I love it. I love it. And then the last one I forgot to mention, and Alex just reminded me actually, was commitment and next steps. Or like we've always been told, ask for the business. That's where you concrete them to move forward. And those are the questions of, and we all speak differently. So I can't even speak. We all speak differently. So word it in your own way. But that's where you say the things like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, how serious are you about moving forward? Or, hey, what is holding you back from being a 10? If it's anything but a 10, right? You probably all heard this in training and coaching in your past, right? Or, hey, if we solve X, Y, Z, if we solve that, what you're talking about, what you need to take care of, are you comfortable taking the next steps to move forward? Those are all the commitments and next steps. And again, a lot of people don't do this. They don't ask for the business. They don't concrete it in. This is all about the first conversation, like we said, right? And the mindset. And if you don't do those, then you don't have a good second call. You don't have a good follow-up call. You don't have a lot of that stuff in, because it's a lot harder for me if I say, hey, Jim, so if I take care of this, if I can pay off these 8 credit cards and I can save you at least $200 a month, probably more, are you comfortable taking the next step? And they say, most of the time, what are people going to say, even if they're lying, they're going to say, well, yeah, if you do that, of course, that's why I'm calling, or whatever they're going to say. That's what I need, whatever the reason is. You're setting yourself up, like we talked about earlier. Knowing how my next conversation is going to go is going to make me confident, and it's going to make me have a better, quicker close and have better rapport, have better longevity with my client and all that stuff. If I just get on the phone and say, all right, let me take a look and see what I can do, and then you come back with something, you don't even know what they wanted. You're just going to come back and pitch what you think is right, not what they need. You're not trying to tailor it to a fix. Now, I might come back to Jim and say, I was looking at it, I structured it this way. I got to come back with a fix every time, right? But I could only pay off 4 of those credit cards right now. It's going to save you about $300 a month. But if we do this, it's also going to help fix your credit. It's going to help you have that skip payment. So now you could take another debt and pay it off on your own. Like, I'm going to come back with something regardless, like we talked about yesterday. And what Will was saying, right? Which is, I'm going to sell everything. It's always going to make sense, but that's going to allow me to concrete it, because I am giving him what he wants. Even if it's not fully, it's part of what he wants. But if I just come back and say, I can get you $40,000 cash out, and I don't really explain it, because again, another thing we don't hear people say is really make that comparison. You're spending $1,200 a month, and now I'm going to do it for only $300 a month, and you're saving that. A lot of people don't actually do that portion of it. Concrete that in. Make sure you end that with an anchor closing, right, of some sort, where I say, if I fix your problem, are you comfortable moving forward? Because if I fix it, or I even partially fix it, it's a lot harder for somebody to say, no, I don't want to move forward. Because then I'll be like, I know, I understand that you might be cautious on it, but I know when we talked prior, curiosity, childhood curiosity style, I know when we talked prior, I'm a little confused, because I know you said if we took care of this, that you were ready to move forward. What changed, right? I could ask more probing questions. Childhood curiosity. I don't get mad and be like, whatever. I don't get mad and be like, hey, I took care of it. Why don't you want to move forward? That's just poor.
When you're done with your interview, right? You want to always address like, hey, are there any type of concerns you may have, with the different, programs that are available out there? Oftentimes when you do the 1 through 10, it kind of scares them sometimes. It depends on the customer, but you can even scale, like on a scale between, 1 through 5, do you feel that, the options that you have available to you would put you in a better financial position? They literally say nothing, right? And if you use the scale 1 through 5, if they see a 3, they're not going to do it.
Yeah. If it's 1 to 10, it's anything but a 10. If it's 1 to 5, it's anything but a 5. If it's 1 to 2, it's anything but a 2. Whatever it is.
Yeah. Give a lot of
to dig in.
Yeah, there's a lot. But the thing is too, we need to just point blank, what do you not like, about, this option? Just point blank, ask them, what do you not like? And then the last thing I'm going to share with you guys, right, is when we call our customers back, and I know we're not doing it. Hey, Mr. Smith, based on our last conversation, you mentioned that your number one goal was to save money on a monthly basis. Has anything changed since then? Say nothing. Oh, actually, Alex, I need 20,000 out. I need to do home improvements. Okay, great. Right. The second goal you mentioned is, you wanted to, reduce the term of the loan or whatever the case may be. So we have to get a recap to bring them back to earth, because they probably forgot a lot of that conversation. So we get them grounded on the reason they called, and then we go in and we hit them with the pitch. But it's not really a pitch. It's you're giving them a prescription, right? You might have 1 prescription or 2 prescriptions, maybe even 3, but go to the best one.
All right. Yeah. So hopefully, does that help everybody or reprogram it a little bit? I know, again, we might already be thinking this. It might be repetitive. Doesn't matter if it's never heard it or if you heard it 100 times. Are we actually utilizing it? Are we applying it? And are we actually doing something with it? Right. So just to kind of go back, like I said, take those notes, practice on those things this week, right? Those 4 things now that we talked about. Don't answer objections immediately. Ask first, get clarity, and then guide. That order. Ask, clarity, guide, and see how it changes your conversion, your responses, who you get a hold of. I know some people, we can bust our butt and talk to 1,000 people a day, but nobody wants to talk to us back because we haven't maybe concreted some of those things in there, right? We can all get better at that. We'll end it on that. Maybe next week we'll go into more on the sales pitch, or we'll come up with a different topic, but we don't want to overwhelm it. Like I said, this is all about asking better questions, and that all starts in the very beginning to dig in deeper.
Okay.
And I'm done. I'm out. Anybody else want to jump in? Got anything to say? Any other words of advice, wisdom? Nope. Okay. Are we going to have a good day? Is it going to be a productive?
Yeah, let's
We're going to get you some more conversations going, apparently. All right.
Yeah. But I wish you guys all well. I'll be available as always. Bless up. Let's get after it.
All right, guys. Let's go.
Thank you.
Please luck this week.
Come on.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.